السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا مولانا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك وعلمنا من لدنك علما ينفعنا في الدين والدنيا كريم. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وقلبا خاشعا ولسانا ذاكرا وعملا متقبلا يا رب العالمين. أما بعد, inshallah ta'ala we continue, and this is our second last class inshallah ta'ala. So next week with Allah ta'ala we'll finish the Hikam. Sayyidi Ibn Ata'illah rahimahullah ta'ala says, لا تطلبن بقاء الواردات بعد أن بسط بعد لا تطلبن بقاء الواردات بعد أن بسطت أنوارها وأودعت أسرارها، فلك في الله تعالى غنى عن كل شيء وليس يغنيك عنه شيء. And then he says, تطلعك إلى بقاء غيره دليل على عدم وجدانك له، واستيحاشك لفقدان ما سواه دليل على عدم وصولك إلى عدم وصلتك به سبحانه وتعالى.
Do not wish that a spiritual experience had remained with you after it has already spread its lights and placed its secrets. You have in God independence from everything, but nothing can make you free of need from Him. Your wanting something other than Him to remain when it is departing is a proof that you are not present with Him, and your feeling sad for losing other than Him is a proof that you have not reached Him.
نعم, الحمد لله. Sayyidina Ata'illah, as we said, the whole book is about uh, preventing you, getting you attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting you dependent on Allah ta'ala, and preventing you from the things that cut you off, that stop you from being connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, what happens with many people is in a certain stage in their life, they will experience a high level of waridat, of ahwal, of visions and experiences and things they see and experience. They might enter into a state where every day they're seeing things, okay? Every day. Some people, they might be able to, subhanAllah, even read the minds of other people, feel things. SubhanAllah, they live a life other than most people. Okay, and this happens to many people throughout their life, and it might reach a peak at some stage in your life. And then what happens in many cases is that it disappears after that. It goes, no longer there. Okay. And subhanAllah, many people, once it goes, many people before they even receive it, they look out for these things. This is all they want to receive. And once it disappears and goes, they feel like they've lost everything. And that's why Sayyidina Ata'illah was telling us before. Not everyone who receives an opening or a vision or an experience has reached Allah Ta'ala yet. Not everyone who receives these things and experiences them means their heart is fully clear and clean. Not everyone who receives these things, experiences these things means that that person has now passed the basic levels they need to pass to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not the case. People might not experience anything but be higher spiritually than that person. Allah Ta'ala gives you these things for a reason. The test, but also He's teaching you something. He's connecting you to Him in a way. And then He takes them away for a reason also. Allah Ta'ala doesn't want you to be attached to anything other than Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything other than Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, He says, لا تطلبن بقاء الواردات بعد أن بسطت أنوارها. Don't wish that spiritual experiences remain after it has spread its lights and placed its secrets. Khalas. You took the warid, the experience, the vision, whatever it is, the miracle, you have taken from it what you need to take. You've already, alhamdulillah, taken the thamara, the fruit of that thing. So why do you want it to stay? Unless you just want to feel like you're a Superman and you have super experiences and you see things and you're not like other people, you want to be different. That's not proper tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he says, the next hikmah, he says, تطلعك إلى بغاء غيره. Just you seeking, wanting other than Him to remain is a proof that you're not present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No. And feeling sad for losing other than Allah ta'ala is a proof that you have not reached. And like he said in the Hikmah before this, فَلَكَ فِي اللَّهِ غِنًى عَنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَلَيْسَ يَغْنِيكَ عَنْهُ شَيْءٍ. In Allah Ta'ala, with Allah Ta'ala, you can be sufficient. You can, subhanallah, be independent from everything else. And nothing can make you independent from Allah Ta'ala. Nothing can make up losing Allah Ta'ala in your life, losing that connection with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And subhanallah, as Imam al-Albiri says, وكل كسر قناة فالدين يجبره وليس لكسر قناة الدين جبرانه. Yes, every bridge that is broken, your relationship with Allah Ta'ala can fix it. But when the bridge between you and Allah Ta'ala is broken, nothing can fix it. That's why, the line of poetry always says, فليس ليت الذي بيني وبينك عامر وبيني وبين الناس خراب. I wish that whatever was between me and you, Allah, is connected, it's built. And even if the case is that everything else, every other connection in my life is broken, it doesn't matter. SubhanAllah, now. Sayyidi Ibn Ata'illah says in his book At-Tanwir, okay, he says, اعلم أنه سبحانه وتعالى إنما يدخلك في الحال لتنال منه لا لينال منك. Because Allah Ta'ala, whenever He puts you in a spiritual state, in experience, He subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to take something from that. Okay? وإنما جاءت لتحمل هدية التعرف من الله إليك فيها. And these spiritual experiences only come to you with a gift from Allah Ta'ala. Take that gift. Don't look at this experience itself. Take the gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants you to learn something. No. And then he mentions how, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how He shows you. He gives you examples of how Allah Ta'ala teaches you things through these ahwal and through the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyidina Ata'illah goes into lots of detail. Inshallah, you can read it in his book, At-Tanwir fi Isqat al-Tadbir. At-Tanwir fi Isqat al-Tadbir. And then he says, النعيم وإن تنوعت مظاهره إنما هو بشهوده واقترابه والعذاب وإن تنوعت مظاهره إنما هو لوجود حجابه فسبب العذاب وجود الحجاب وإتمام النعيم بالنظر إلى وجهه الكريم إلى وجه الله الكريم.
Pleasure, even if manifest in many forms, is only through viewing His closeness. Pain, even if manifest in many forms, is only through being veiled from Him. The cause for pain is the presence of the veil. The perfecting of pleasure is by viewing His noble countenance.
Now, people tend to enjoy many things in their life. People tend to seek pleasure in different things. And sometimes you find that one specific thing, so and so, one person might seek pleasure in it, another person might find it to be a punishment. The same thing. Okay. So, subhanAllah, in reality, when we find pleasure in things and we don't, a lot of it depends on the lens that we see them through, the experience that we have, the connection that we have. Okay. Someone who is connected to Allah Ta'ala, for example, being locked up in prison, okay, and doing dhikr layl and nahar would be a dream. For other people, being in prison would be a nightmare. SubhanAllah, some people losing their job, okay, would be a punishment. Other people would find it a chance to connect to Allah Ta'ala in many other ways. For some people, subhanAllah, having people speak about them in the community and spread lies about them would be a punishment. Other people find that as a huge way to seek rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's so many examples, subhanAllah. So in reality, okay, you see things through the lens that you see them. And if you were to see things through the lens of Allah Ta'ala, everything in the end in your life is going to be a punishment. I'll give you an example. People who are, subhanAllah, addicted and attached to certain things in dunya, and they seek pleasure. It could be through gambling, through alcohol, through money, through haram relationships, other things. They're very depressed in their life. They're never satisfied in their life. Although they have all of these things. The richest people, they're very depressed. Why? Because they're in adhab, in punishment. Why? Because they're not seeing things through the lens of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People who are so close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they've had all the illnesses in the world, you find that the most happy, satisfied people. Why? because they see the connection to Allah, everything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these people who are connected, even if they have the blessings that we have in our life, they'll still appreciate it as well. So even though they were to eat food, they'll appreciate it more. Why? Because they, subhanAllah, they enjoy things because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken all of the um, the illness out of their heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also given them a lot of cleanness in their vision. They enjoy things more than other people even enjoy them. They don't live in this confusion in their life anymore, subhanAllah. Why? Because Allah ta'ala is bestowing blessings and blessings upon them. So Sayyidina Ata, he's saying, in reality, punishment, real punishment, okay, is really to see things through other than Allah ta'ala, have a block, to have a veil between you and between things, to see things not through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And subhanAllah, and to see things through Allah ta'ala is really the greatest of blessings. To the extent that some people might be going into an operation, might be harmed by things, having physical pain, but they still see it as a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that doesn't cause them to fall into depression, doesn't cause them to fall into anxiety. Okay. Now, we're not saying it's wrong to feel things as a normal person. You can feel things, you can experience things, you can be sad in life, you can have ups and downs, it's fine. Okay. Sayyidina Ta'ala is not talking about the mood swings and the sad that you get normal things of the day. No, no, he's talking about something deeper than that. He's saying that when you that inner state that you have. Some people, they're pleased in their life. They're not unhappy with what Allah given in their life. They're living happily. That is the biggest of blessings, basically. He's talking about that kind of, that kind of happiness and sadness. Not, the awada that come and go every single day. Of course, that's normal. He then says, ما تجده القلوب من الهموم والأحزان فلأجل ما منعت من وجود العيان.
What the hearts find of sadness and depression is from their being denied the vision of Him.
Now, so subhanallah, I'm sure we explained this in the past hikmah, but I'm sure a lot of us in their life, subhanallah, when the shaitan starts to get to us, we start to fall into lows in our life. Anyone who goes into a low spiritual state, subhanallah, you can fall into severe levels of depression. Why? In reality, the more connected you are, the more your heart is satisfied. The more disconnected you are, the more your heart is sad. The more your heart isn't happy anymore. The more your heart, wants to disappear. And that's why, subhanAllah, if we were to all witness things in this life, and always be in a state that we can see and we're connected 24/7, no one would experience any sadness. But that's not dunya. Dunya is when you have this struggle and this battle ups and downs in your life. This is all, part of the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He then says, من تمام النعمة عليك أن يرزقك ما يكفيك ويمنعك ما يطغيك.
From the perfecting of His blessing on you is that He give you that which suffices and prevents you from that which will cause you to transgress.
Abdul-Wahid ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu says, I heard in my life, he says, I heard about a slave girl who people used to consider to be crazy. And subhanAllah, she was in a little corner in a rundown area in al-Ḥikam. Al-Ḥikam is, I think now it's in Jordan today. And they said she used to speak hikmah. There used to be wisdom that comes out of her mouth. So his whole life he wanted to meet this person. And when he met her, one day in his life he came across her. And she had shaved her head. And she was wearing a jubba made of wool. When she saw him, she says, "Marhaban bika ya ibn Abdul Wahid." Ya Abdul Wahid. She said, "Marhaban, welcome, ya Abdul Wahid." He said, "How did you know me?" She says, "رحب الله بك." ثم قالت ما جاء بك. She said, Allah Ta'ala, He's the one who brought you here. What do you want? He says, I want you to remind me. تعيريني. She says, you're someone who reminds people. How can I remind you? And then she says, the slave of Allah Ta'ala, إن كان في كفاية ومال إلى شيء من الدنيا سلبه الله تعالى حلاوة الزهد وظل حيران أولها. فإن كان له عند الله تعالى نصيب عاقبه وحيا في سره فيقول له عبدي أردت رفع قدرك عند ملائكتي وأجعلك دليلا لأوليائي ومرشدا لأهل طاعتي فملت إلى عرض الدنيا وتركتني فأورثك ذلك الوحشة بعد الأنس والذل بعد العز والفقر بعد الغنى. ارجع إلى ما كنت عليه، ارجع إلى ما كنت تعرفه من نفسك. ثم انصرفت ثم انصرفت عني وتركتني وبقيت حسرتها في قلبي. Says, said to him, I'll give you one piece of advice. Okay? The slave of Allah Ta'ala, if Allah Ta'ala has put you in a state where you're going well, okay, he gives you the basics in your life, and then the rest of the time your heart is connected to Allah, you're worshiping Him, you're doing the right things in life. And then you choose to prefer dunya, you choose to put dunya on top and to go away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, you go towards the dunya, you rush towards the dunya, and it takes over your heart. Okay. وَمَالَ إِلَى شَيْءٍ دُنَّا. You basically, you lean towards the dunya. Allah Ta'ala immediately will take away from your heart the taste and the beauty of zuhd, of being detached from the dunya. And you'll be lost in your life, running in circles, lost. If Allah Ta'ala still wants good for you, and there's still a chance for you, okay, Allah Ta'ala will then blame you by sending a reminder in your heart. As the Prophet ﷺ says, Allah Ta'ala has a reminder, someone reminding you in your heart. Your heart speaks to your body, okay? And that reminder will be like Allah Ta'ala saying to you, "Oh my slave, I wanted to raise your status until you reach the status of the angels. And you will be someone who my awliya, my friends, are dependent on, and they seek your guidance. And someone who guides, a murshid, a guide for the people of my obedience. And you chose to leave me and go to dunya. This has been the reason why you have inherited depression in your life. You feel alone all of a sudden, you're lost, and you feel humiliated after you've been raised by me. And you feel poor after you were rich through me. Go back to what you used to know, and that's the only way back to me." And then she left him. And he sat a long time after that, just remembering these words. No. That's why Sayyidina ʿAṭā, subhanAllah, and very similar to this story, he says a story, it's very beautiful. He says, "من تمام النعمة عليك أن يرزقك ما يكفيك ويمنعك ما يطغيك."
From the perfecting of his blessing on you is that he gives you that which suffices and prevents you from that which will cause you to transgress.
You have what you need, you worship Allah Ta'ala, you have a simple life, no haram in it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's protecting you for the rest of your life. And we just read the story that we just said now. That hikmah, I think, repeated it twice. So after that, he says, لِيَقِلَّ مَا تَفْرَحُ بِهِ وَيَقِلَّ مَا تَحْزُنُ عَلَيْهِ. لِيَقِلَّ مَا تَفْرَحُ بِهِ يَقِلَّ مَا تَحْزُنُ عَلَيْهِ.
Let the things that make you happy be fewer, and the things that make you sad will be fewer.
Allah, na'am. Subhanallah, the same concept. If you are attached to multiple things in a way that these things are able to control you in your life and distract you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and take preference, Allah ta'ala is not your preference anymore. Okay? You're so attached to these things. The more things you're attached to in your life, the easier it is to be depressed and be sad. Why? Because the moment you lose these things, and other than Allah ta'ala, you will lose no matter what. Okay? The moment you lose them, you'll become sad. You'll become depressed. So Sayyidina Abdullah is saying that simple life where you have what you need and you are just in a state of tawakkul to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether you're working or not, whether you're living in society or not, but you still have a state of tawakkul generally in your life, this is the ultimate goal for every Muslim who wants to have that clear, clean relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, subhanallah, one of the stories they mention in the books is that some of the sultan, some of the kings, they held, they bring to him, a very expensive container full of gems. and he had never seen something so amazing in his life. So he got very happy. So some of the people of understanding and wisdom around him, they said to him, you know, he asked them, he said, "What do you think about the beauty of these gems that I just received?" They said, it's poorness and it's a big problem. It's a big calamity." He said, "Why?" He said, "If these gems broke into pieces, you will never be able to get over them. And if someone steals them, you'll become poor straight away. And you will be sad." Now, and before you had these gems brought to you, you were safe from all of these dangers that we just mentioned now. SubhanAllah, these gems broke and the container fell. And the king got very depressed and upset, SubhanAllah. Then he says, Sadiq al-Hakim, the person of Hikmah, told the truth. SubhanAllah, Sayyidina Ajiba, he says, another way to another thing you can use as an indicator to know if you're on the right track or not, other than this, okay? And even easier to use than this, um, is that if you were to look at yourself in the state that you're in, imagine yourself in any state. In that state, if you let yourself go and you let yourself just receive the qadr of whatever's coming your way, just receive it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. And just receiving whatever Allah ta'ala declares. Uh, okay. And you don't mind what he's doing to you subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you should be happy. This is the state that you want to be in. Sayyidina Āṭā, he's mentioning this concept that everyone should have. And then now he's talking about us engaging in public life, us being, responsible of other people, us taking leadership roles. Okay. So he says, إذا إن أردت أن لا تعزل فلا تتولى ولاية لا تدوم لك.
If you wish not to be abandoned, do not seek protection from things that do not last.
Now, so remember Ibn Āṭā in a previous hikmah he says, إذا أردت عزا لا يفنى فلا تستعن عليه بعز من يفنى. If you want honor that is ongoing, don't seek honor from someone whose honor is not ongoing. More than Allah Ta'ala. Same thing here. If you want to not be abandoned, okay. لا تتولى. What's wilaya mean in Arabic? Okay. It says here seek protection. It's more than that. In Arabic, wilaya is basically to join forces, to befriend, to seek protection, to engage and become a member of something that doesn't last. Don't invest your life in something silly that doesn't last. Invest your life in things that are ongoing in this life and the next. In that case, you're never going to be abandoned. Why? Because you're on the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're not on the side of an organization or a name or so and so, an individual. You're on the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Engage in life, in public life is fine, but if the thing you're engaged with, at the end, it leads and it ends to something that is not lasting, then don't make that your life. Some people, they like their work, for example. If your work is bringing you close to Allah Ta'ala and it's fully fisbillah, then that's good. But if your work is something that feeds many other things, it has an end. It's not 100% fisbillah, then don't make that your whole life. Don't make that your existence. Make the priority in your life things that last, things that are attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This should be the problem of every Muslim's life. Whether you're a student or not, whether you're a scholar or not, whether you're an alim or not, whether you're an abid or not, your priority should be things you should like in your spare time, the close friends, the people you engage around, they should be people who bring you close to Allah ta'ala. This should be our reality. Okay? Now, he then says, إن رغبتك البدايات زهدتك النهايات. وإن دعاك إليها ظاهر نهاك عنها باطن.
The beginning entices you, the ending repulses you. If the external invites you, the internal bars you.
Okay, what is this talking about? Sayyidina Ata now, he's telling you, after all these advices, he's telling you the reality of the dunya. Okay, this life that we're living. The dunya that, has been able to take control and misguide most people in life. Okay? The beginning, he says, رغبتك البدايات. Okay? The beginning excites you. It makes you want to be involved in it. But if that's the case, always, subhanAllah, the ending repulses you. You get sick, subhanAllah. Dunya, you can't, it's not something that is reliable. وإن دعاك إليها ظاهر نهاك عنها باطن. And externally, something attracts you to the dunya on the outside. But in your heart and in the unseen, there's something that also turns you away from the dunya. Tells you that it's not right for you, subhanAllah. There's so many inner bitter facts about life. Ask someone who's let's say, into banking, into riba, into any type of transactions that are halal, or even halal, but they engage in them, in an excess way. Someone who's really involved in dunya, they know in their heart there's something that's not satisfied. There's something that's not good about it. Now, that's why Sayyidina Rasulullah, he summarized this in a hadith. SubhanAllah, this hadith is in Sahih. He says, إن الدنيا خضرة حلوة. Dunya is green and it's sweet life. Okay. وإن مما ينبت الربيع ما يقتل أو يلم أو ما يقتل حبقا أو يلم. He says that dunya in outside it's green and sweet, and some things that grow that are green and sweet can kill. Subhanallah. Now, dunya is like subhanallah, a toxic plant, a plant that is poisonous. You see it and it attracts you, or poisonous fruit, subhanallah. But the reality of dunya is that it's inside it's sour. This hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari, subhanallah. Now, and that's why Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the same hadith, he says that the best person to take the dunya in his hand is a righteous Muslim. Why? Righteous Muslim is going to use the dunya for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not going to use the dunya for the dunya. He's not going to fall into the dunya and become trapped under the dunya. Now, so subhanallah, this is the reality of this dunya that we live. We need to use the dunya as a step to our akhirah. Use the dunya, but use it. Don't let it use you. Don't be the one who's just wasted their life in dunya, and then once they reach 80 or 90 years old, they don't know what they've done with their life. Yes? إن لله عباد فطنا طلقوا الدنيا وخافوا الفتن نظروا فيها فلما علموا أنها ليست لحيا وطنا جعلوها لجة واتخذوا صالح الأعمال فيها سفنا. Indeed, Allah Ta'ala has slaves. فطنا. What's فطنا mean? From fatin, it means they're smart slaves. طلقوا الدنيا. They divorced dunya a long time ago. وخافوا الفتنة, and they were scared of being falling into the fitna of the dunya. نظروا فيها فلما علموا أنها ليست لحيا وطنا. They looked into the dunya and they found that it's not. When they discovered that it's not somewhere to invest your life and to live if you want to be alive. جعلوها لجة واتخذوا صالح الأعمال فيها سفنا. They made dunya a port, a sea, and they used good actions as ships to sail inside the dunya. That's why he says إنما جعلها محلا للأغيار ومعدنا لوجود الأقدار تزهيدا لك فيها إنما جعلها محلا للأغيار ومعدنا لوجود الأقدار تزهيدا لك فيها وجود فراقها.
He has only made the world a place of others and a mine for troubles, so that you would not love it.
Okay. So, subhanallah, in order to detach us from the dunya, Allah Ta'ala, subhanallah, He puts bitterness in the dunya. It's always changing. It's never, وهذه الدنيا لا تبقي, it doesn't stay. It's never stable. It's always up and down. Okay. How can you be attached to dunya? You're going to be attached to, a piece of land you own, or so and so, or being, the head of some type of organization, and you know it's going to end. So to detach from the dunya, Allah Ta'ala has made it that you always see these ups and downs, these faults in the dunya. Subhanallah. نعم. سيدنا الإمام السنوسي رحمه الله تعالى, Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Yusuf al-Sanusi, he says, Allah Ta'ala, why did He allow that the prophets of Allah Ta'ala get sick, fall into calamity? They have, difficult experiences in dunya. Why? The reason, he says, for this is so that you can reflect and understand that if dunya had any weight to it, Allah Ta'ala would have given dunya to His prophets. He gave dunya to the prophet, but He would give it to them in a sense where they don't fall into any difficulty, when they're not troubled, when there's no difficulty in their life. If you have difficulty in your life, it's because of dunya. Why are you so upset about it? Why are you complaining? You're in dunya. That's the case, that's the state of dunya. Don't be attached to the dunya then. No. And subhanAllah, he then goes into another level. He says, he's talking about the reason of tests and hardships in this world. He says, علم أنك لا تقبل النصح المجرد فذوقك من ذواقها ما يسهل عليك.
He knew that you would not accept mere advice, so He made you taste its bitter taste to ease your separation from it.
نعم. So, subhanallah, you're so attached to dunya, and you don't take advice when we say dunya doesn't, you don't be attached to dunya. So He let you taste dunya so that you separate yourself from it. Subhanallah. Now, that's the case. He then says, العلم النافع هو الذي ينبسط في الصدر شعاعه ويكشف به عن القلب قناعه.
Useful knowledge is that whose lights rays spread in the chest and tear away the veil from the heart.
Subhanallah, knowing Allah Ta'ala, having knowledge of Islam, is something that we have to respect highly. And in Tasawwuf, they always talk about knowledge, understanding. But then they always talk about the danger of just having information and not inheriting the essence and the value and the fruit of that knowledge. That's why Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. The people who really fear Allah Ta'ala are the people of knowledge of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You learn fiqh, you learn aqeedah, you learn these things, but you take the outcome of it. You learn aqeedah, so you understand that Allah Ta'ala is so great. He's not like us, so you fear Allah subhanahu, you're attached to Allah Ta'ala more. You learn fiqh, so you understand that Allah Ta'ala has hudud, He has rulings, has limits, you respect that. Everything's from a lens of tazkiyah, of course, in your life. That's the knowledge that benefits you. SubhanAllah. If the knowledge doesn't reflect in your heart, it's not knowledge. It's not knowledge. SubhanAllah. And Imam Ghazali in Ihya al-Ulumuddin, he talks about this for a long time in the beginning of Ihya al-Kitab al-Ilm. He says that a lot of the people of knowledge in these days and ages, they're not really people of knowledge. They use their knowledge for dunya. But like the four imams, these are the people of knowledge, the people that, they used to be from the pious people, subhanAllah. Now, and that's why, subhanAllah, without tasawwuf, knowledge can turn into nifaq, it can turn into, subhanAllah, something that can lead you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It can really destroy everything. And that's why in the hadith, the first person to enter hellfire would be a scholar. Why? Because he learned knowledge for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He used it for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tasawwuf is the science that tells you how to understand and how to make sure your heart isn't going in the wrong direction, subhanAllah. So the real wiratha, the real inheriting of the Prophet ﷺ would be inheriting the knowledge that wakes you up, that affects you, and then affects the ones around you. You teach them now. That's why he says, خير علم ما كانت الخشية معه.
The best knowledge is that which is accompanied by God-fearingness.
العلم إن قارنته الخشية فلك وإلا فعليك.
If knowledge is accompanied by God-fearingness, it is for your favor. Else, it is to your detriment.
No. So, subhanAllah, I advise everyone to read the Book of Knowledge by Imam Ghazali in Ihya al-Ulumuddin, and to really reflect on knowledge being a weapon that has, it's double-sided. It can, إِمَّا لَكَ أَوْ عَلَيْكَ. Prophet says, Al-Quran hujjatun laka aw alayk. Yes, he says that the Quran is either going to witness for you or against you. Okay? Everything's like that. Knowledge is the same thing. Your knowledge is the most sacred thing. You're inheriting the risala, the message of the Prophet ﷺ. If you don't inherit the spiritual part of it as well, you understand what it's for. What are you inheriting? You're just memorizing words. You're just repeating, sentences. You're just memorizing books. That's it. No, this knowledge is here for a reason. There's something that has to come out of this knowledge. SubhanAllah. Someone who learns, someone who's a faqih, someone who's a aqidah, hadith, whatever it is, you should be someone who, subhanAllah, who loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, loves the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's connected, who brings people close to Allah, that does not send people away from Allah ta'ala, doesn't scare people away from Allah ta'ala, doesn't make people run away from their religion. That's not kind of knowledge, proper knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah ta'ala to make some people of knowledge and understanding, and to not make us fall into fitna. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Inshallah ta'ala, we will end here and we meet again next week with ta'ala. Next week will probably be a long list, inshallah. Try to finish the rest, the remaining hikam, bidnillah. Jazakumullah ta'ala khair. If there's any questions, we'll take them quickly. If not, we'll stop here, inshallah. There's a question in the chat that says, someone with a high spiritual state not have depression? Very nice question. Of course, using modern terms like depression, anxiety, these things isn't the let's say it's not the easiest thing to talk about, because from a Shari'i perspective, these, you can say these are modern terms that their definition could is flexible. It's a bit more liquid than when we're talking about these Shari'i perspectives, but generally falling into anxiety and depression and all of these modern mental illnesses and stuff, or things, they have a spiritual side to them. Maybe not 100% spiritual. There should be other factors. Of course, someone could have gone through major things in their life. Okay, major things in their life. There's no doubt of that. But usually it has a spiritual side. What do I mean? First thing is that if you work on the spiritual side, it can help. Okay, yes, and I'm not even against people taking medication for these things. It's not wrong. I'm not saying that it's just, or just get close, just pray more, and then your illness will go. No, but they can have a spiritual connection from many angles. Shaitan likes people to fall into depression, and he has many techniques to do that. Okay, one way could be detaching person from certain major important things in their religion, in their spirituality. Okay, detaching them, the hearts are not attached anymore. Then he can get you easily. That's all. Not that depression doesn't come from outside. It does come from outside as well. Okay. Another thing could be that a person, when they fall into depression, and these things, subhanAllah, if they're not as connected enough, it can be even more difficult to find hope. Okay, that's another thing. And the third thing is a different thing, which is that depression, we can say levels. I'm talking about a level of depression where someone who doesn't have proper belief, someone whose belief in Allah is very weak, subhanallah, they can't reflect and they can't recall these and they can't make their iman present in that moment, because they haven't got a strong connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also sometimes depression can come from being attached to the dunya. Like someone loves someone in a haram relationship, for example. Okay, they met in a haram relationship, and let's say they lived loving each other for years, and then one of them person left them. Of course, there's going to be no barakah in it. The person might fall in depression. You can why? Because an element to it is that you do things the wrong way, for example. So yes, subhanallah, being attached to things in a haram way, in a wrong way, or even too attached to dunyawi things can lead to, of course, bad outcomes. So there's many angles to talk about it, but generally, let's say really low levels, really low levels of depression, the Prophet ﷺ would never fall into something like that. They would not fall into things like that. The really pious awliya of Allah would not fall into that. Why? Because subhanAllah doesn't match their their risala, their mission, anything of that, of course. But subhanAllah, of course, we have full understanding, and we feel for people who go through depression, and it's not always their own fault. Okay, we're not blaming someone who goes through depression, anxiety, or you're just fired from Allah Ta'ala. Basically, what we're saying is that subhanallah, there's many factors, and it could be not the person themselves, but it could be the society, things around them that have led them and made them fall into it. So we need to work together, to eliminate these things, inshallah. No. Okay. Another question here says, is being sad something a believer should fight? For example, he falls into a sin and feels very sad after disobeying Allah Ta'ala. He should fight that sadness, try to be happy. Okay. Being happy, being sad, these things are not goals. Okay. You should be satisfied. Let's use the word satisfied and not use the word happy or sad. Okay. You should be satisfied with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You should be um content with Allah Ta'ala, with Allah Ta'ala gives you. That's the first thing. Second thing, if we fall into a sin or something and feeling sad and regretting a sin, we study inshallah ta'ala in Tasawwuf. The first step of tawbah is what? Is nadam, yes? Prophet says, "An-nadamu tawbah." Regretting your mistake is tawbah in itself, yes? So regretting, feeling sad, but it's fine. But like Sayyidina ʿAṭā says before, don't let your sadness, if your sadness from a sin makes you fall into losing hope, then that's not sadness. That's trick of shaitan. That's dunya. Yeah? You don't lose hope. That means that you haven't got enough. You're actually focusing on your amal. You think your amal and doing good is what's going to make you reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's also wrong. So we have to have that balance. So let's not say happiness is a goal, sadness is a goal. Let's say that we should be content. We should, try to work towards the best, and we should take whatever Allah Ta'ala brings our way in a happy way, of course, inshallah Ta'ala. If someone falls into sadness, if it's going into, if you're falling the wrong way, going into depression, you're going into a situation where, wallahi, you're just, you don't want to do any more salah, you fell into a sin, and now you don't want to pray anymore, you don't want to read Quran anymore. You're like, oh, khalas, that's not for me. I'm really sad. That's the wrong sadness. That's the thing that we should be fighting now. But feeling normal feelings up and down. Prophet ﷺ had, ups and downs. Okay, not down. He was ups, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ups and ups, you can say. But basically, what I mean is that he had times in his life that were difficult for him. That's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. No, no. And وإياكم for clarifying. Yes, alhamdulillah. There's always two extremes, of course, in these things, and we have to have that moderate approach. We have to understand and understand society and the challenges of society, and it's not wrong. We don't live that kind of the lifestyle where we just make everything seem like there's no problems that exist or problems not allowed to exist. We accept problems when we face them, but from a shari way, inshallah. طيب, inshallah we'll stop here. جزاكم الله تعالى خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.